Hi all. My name is Amit, and I'll be your instructor for the day to walk you through, the concept of data model up using Power BI. All right. So, see the topic that we're going to cover today in this webinar. So that is data modeling, something which we use to deal with multiple data sets in Power BI. Correct. That's what will be the objective. Something which helps you to manage and work with multiple data sets together. So when we talk of data modeling, right now, this is a concept which has been picked up from, like the data warehouses that we work with. So what happens is when the multiple tables are imported, so data in the different tables can be joined to each other, and you can easily analyze the data by pulling the data from multiple tables here and there. So that's what the objective of managing relationship. I mean, that's what the objective of data modeling is. Let's try to understand this thing with a small example. Right, this is very important to understand right from the data perspective as well. See, for example, I have some data, right? I mean, so I am the owner of a e-commerce store. So whatever data is generated, what I do is I store that data in this Excel over here. So when I sold my order, I have the order ID for that, order date. We have the customer ID, customer name, address of the customer, product ID, product name, sales value, supplier ID, supplier name. So I sold my first order, today's date. Customer ID is C1. His name is Sam. His address is Lane 1, right? And he purchased a product which was an iPhone. Sales value is 30,000. Supplier ID is S1. And the supplier name is ABC Mobiles. Now we sold the second order, which was purchased by customer C2. His name is John. He lives on lane 2. And he also purchased an iPhone, and the same supplier is delivering it. And the third order was sold, which was purchased by C3. His name is Leo, and he lives on lane 3. He also purchased the same article. And finally, fourth order was sold, same date. C1 comes back to my store, who lives on lane 1. And this time he buys a charger and pays 2,000 for that, being delivered by S1 ABC Mobiles. Okay. Now see, this is how I am storing or capturing the data up. Do you all have any thoughts on this? Is the way I am storing the data, is it right? Or do you think there can be some better way of storing it up? Let's just have a look, everyone. I would like you all to get involved with the data and share the thoughts on it. Okay. See, maybe the data looks okay to me when I have a look at it. Right. But the problem that I have with this data is that there is a lot of repetition of the same data, right? That's something you will observe over here. So there's a lot of repetition that is happening. So I'm capturing iPhone again and again. I'm capturing ABC Mobiles again and again. So the same information is coming multiple times, which will ultimately lead to the more, storage memory, and the performance will be affected because of that. So what we generally do is we store the data into smaller pieces. See, I can make a separate table of customer. Okay. Now here I'm going to store all the customer details. Okay. And so in this table, I really don't need to keep the customer name and address multiple times. See, I will maintain all the unique customer IDs and names over here. Okay. Now similarly, can I make a product table as well? Right. If I make another separate product table. So here what I can do is, oops, sorry. I will keep product, the name and the charges. I really don't need to keep product name again and again. And likewise, over here, I will just I make a separate table for supplier. So I really don't need to keep supplier name again and again. So this is the way, what is happening over here is you will observe that if I split the data into multiple smaller tables over here, I'm somewhere able to save my memory in this. So I don't have to keep, storing the same data again and again. Am I right? And if you will notice, these tables are somewhere linked to each other. So if I show you this, so I can see customer ID to customer ID, right? So you can see product ID to product ID and supplier ID to supplier ID. These tables still have some connections between them. So these are not standalone tables. These tables are linked to each other. Okay. So this way, what is happening is this whole concept that I've shown you over here, where the data is stored in a smaller chunks of pieces, and they have some common connections between each other. Right. This is something which we call it as data model. And when we create these relationships, right, when these relationships are created every month, so what happens in that case is these relationships are of multiple types that we have. So there are four types of relationships. One-to-one, one-to-many, many-to-one, and many-to-many. So these are the different four types of different relationships that we have. So what is one-to-one? One-to-one means like if there are two tables, one table is ID and name, second is ID and age. Because in this case, 1, 2, 3, the name is A, B, and C. And 1, 2, 3, the age is 21, 22, 23. Now, so if you all take a look on these two tables, right? If you all take a look on these two tables, so what is happening over here is one ID can have only one name and one age, right? One person can have only one name and one age. So this type of relationship is called as one-to-one. Okay, this is called as one-to-one relationship. Similarly, if you have two tables, the tables are like this, say, for example, I'm having the data like this. And in the second table, I have the ID and the subject. I'm seeing the person whose ID is 1, 2. This person is studying SQL, Power BI, Python, SQL, right? So now one person can study multiple subjects. So this becomes one to many, right? This becomes one to many or many to one. So that is how these relationships are defined. One to many to one. And if suppose you have the table such that like this is a one table where all the subjects are coming multiple times, and I have another table with me where I am saying I have the ID and the address. I'm seeing the person whose ID is 1, 2, he lives in hostel, he's anyhow from India, he lives in hostel and he's from US. Now see in this table also every ID is coming multiple times and over here also it's coming multiple times. So this type of relationship is called as many to many. Okay, so this is called as many to many relationship. So Madhukar, but age 21. No, so over here, the matching information over here is when we're talking about age. So this is ID wise age. The person whose ID is 1, his name is A, and the person whose ID is 1, his age is 21. So the ID is not of the age, it's of the basically the person. That's how that ID is being linked up. Great. So any questions, anyone, on this concept that I've given you? So now what we will do is let's try to see this thing practically. So just allow me 1 second. See, now this is a file that I have. Now this is something similar to what I was showing you and what I was explaining you. So you have the information regarding the customer details where you have the customer ID, you have the customer name, you have the product table where you have product ID, category, subcategory, and product name. You have the region data. So in the region data, we have stored postal code, region, country, city, and state, right? So this is other table of region. And then we have one table of fact sales. In the fact sales, what we have is we have the order ID for all the orders that were sold, by which customer it was purchased, in which postal code it was sent, and what was the product ID that was purchased. So now data is something which is given to me in multiple tables over here. So let's see how we built up that data model in the Power BI. So I'll quickly launch my Power BI desktop. I'm just opening it up. See, so here I have my Power BI desktop now, which I've launched up. So what we will be doing in this case is we will be loading up the data over here in this. So I click on Excel workbook and I'll make the connection to the data modeling file. So I will make the connection to all the 4 sheets over here. See, I'll be loading the product data, region data, and everything. See, I'll be loading all the files over here. In this case, what has happened is the data that I have loaded, this has some issues with it, which also will have to spend the time on the data cleansing as well. See, the data is loaded. All right. So the next thing that I do over here is I will be going in the transform data. So that's what we do it. We go in the transform data. See, if you notice the customer data that I have loaded over here in Power BI, the headers are not coming fine for it. So I will have to say use first row as header. Okay, likewise, what I will do is I will go in the product data. So in the product data also my headers are not coming fine. So I will be saying use first row as header. So you will notice the headers are now corrected out for the 2 tables where we had some issues. Hope you all are with me till here, everyone. So now you click on close and apply. So basically, what happened is Power BI is a smart tool. It will be able to identify those relationships by itself also. So where do you find those relationships? Let me show you that up. See, over here on this window, this is the point you all have to come. If you come over here and I click on this model view. So this is where you will see a similar kind of a thing that I had shown you in the Excel. These tables are connected to each other. So you will notice that fact sales is the main centralized table. So fact sales and product data is connected to each other with the help of product ID. Customer data is connected with on the basis of customer ID. And region data is connected on the basis of postal code. Because the column names were same, right? Because the column names were same. So these relationships have been automatically identified. Correct? So Dhanushri, already see Power BI was installed in my machine. So since Power BI is already installed, so I just went to the Windows and I said Power BI. So I launched that application, Power BI application. It was installed on my machine. All right. Now see, in this particular case, what has happened is the relationships have been automatically identified. What if the column names are not same? Okay, in case the column names are not same, suppose I delete the relationships. See, when I delete the relationship, now these tables are not connected to each other. See, I'm deleting these relationships by right clicking and deleting it. Okay. See, if suppose the tables do not have any relationships between them. So if you will try to make a chart, say like, for example, I want to make a column chart. So if I click on the column chart, I would like to showcase sales by category. So I can pick category from the product data. And I can pick sales from the fact sales. So you will notice for all the 3 categories, the numbers are coming same because there are no relationships. So Power BI is not able to identify how much sale is for which category. Correct? So typically, if you will notice the connections that we have, so that is important. So how do you make these relationships manually? So if you see product ID over here, if you drag this product ID from this table to product ID of this table, the moment you drag this up, you will notice the relationship would be defined. See, the 2 tables are now connected to each other on the basis of product ID. Correct? And now if you will go back, if I will show you the table, the chart, see, now it is showing the proper numbers over here for each category. It's not showing the same bar for all the 3 categories now. Now, if I go back to that relationship view, I can see customer data and fact sale is also something which can be connected. So if you see over here, customer ID to customer ID, that's a common point between them. OK. And if you see over here, postal code, to postal code, they are also connected to each other. So let me not make this relationship right now over here because I'll show you something different. If you remember, I have told you that there are 4 types of relationships, right? You can actually identify that thing over here. See, in product data, every product ID is present once. And in fact sales, every product ID is present multiple times because multiple customers would have purchased the same item. So you can see this is a one-to-many relationship, which can also be seen from here. This is one, and this is star means many. So this is a one-to-many relationship that we have. Okay. Now in this case, if you also want to make the relationships, there is another option that you have. If you click over here on manage relationships, if you click over here on manage relationships, you will notice this window will come up. Now, I mean, the shortcut that is drag and drop is much more easier and convenient. But if you see over here, you will see a couple of other features as well. So if I click on new, I want to add a new relationship that is between region data and the fact sales. So you will notice over here, PowerBI is able to identify the relationship postal code to postal code. And this cardinality is one-to-many. If I, inverse the table, this is fact sales and this is region data. See, this becomes many to one. So that is postal code to postal code. See, this becomes many to one. So like as I've told you, one to many and many to one, they are just opposite of each other. And between 2 tables, sometimes it can happen that you might find that there are multiple fields through which they can be connected. Okay, so but by default, there can only be one active relationship between the tables. So if I click on OK and close, you will find that relationship coming up over here. Got it? Any questions to anyone? Now see what happened is you will notice that when these tables are connected to each other, right? When these tables are connected to each other, see what happens in that particular cases, you will see something like a arrow over here. You will see a arrow. This arrow basically tells you that flow of data is like from here to here. That means you can pick something from here and do the calculation from here. That is what the direction tells you. Okay. But if you will try to calculate in the opposite way, like you pick something from here and do the aggregation from here, right? Okay. You pick something from here and do the aggregation from here, that will not work. Let me explain you this thing with an example. See, by the nature of the data, right? The data that we have. So what we can have over here is one product can belong to only one category, right? One product can belong to only one category. Suppose I am making a table over here. This is the table. So if I click on this table, although I can find these insights from single table also, if I go in the product data, I pick product ID and I say count distinct of category. Okay, let me change it to count distinct. See, I get the output. Each product ID belongs to one category. But what if I remove the product ID and I instead bring the product ID from the fact sales? See, now you will notice it is showing the output as 3. It is showing because total there are 3 categories. So it is showing that each product belongs to all the 3 categories. The reason for that is direction. See, I have picked up the product ID from here and I am aggregating the data from here. Okay, so I'm going to pick the product ID from here and I'm counting the number of categories from here. So because direction doesn't allow it to do the calculation in the opposite way, so I'll go in the manage relationship and product data relationship that we have, we will edit that. And over here, I'm going to say, I would like to keep the cross direction filter as both and click OK. Now you will see the arrows will change. Now what PowerBI can do, it can do the calculation in both the direction from A to B, B to A, and you will see the chart would have got corrected up. Now it is showing each product ID belongs to one category. Okay. Total will be 3, right, Vinay? Because what is happening is total is showing you how many total categories are there. This total 3 is basically there are overall 3 categories in the data. That's why it's coming as 3. Okay. So if you see from the previous chart also, over here we made the chart by sales by category. So there were total 3 categories. So that's what that number is coming. Now see, I hope this concept of relationship is clear to all of you, how this is working. And this schema that is created, this is all the tables which are connected to each other. This is actually called as schema. This we call it as schema. So this is basically a star schema. Star schema means where you have one centralized table and this is connected to one dimension table each. So that is called as a schema, where you have one centralized table and each table is connected to this over here. This is called as a schema. Now, likewise, also what happened is there is another type of a schema that we call it as snowflake schema. See, let me just open another Power BI file. See, now I have another set of data. So it's not always mandatory that centralized table should be connected to all the tables. See, if I come over here, just give me 1 second. I'm choosing a different file this time, which is Adventure Works. Yes, Vinay. So even if the data is coming from multiple Excel sheets, or it can also happen if the data is coming from some data is coming from Excel, some data is coming from a database. So because once the data is loaded in the Power BI, they become a Power BI data set. So the relationships can be created among multiple files or sources also. Okay. See, we cannot say count of category because see what will happen is one product would have been purchased multiple times. So that same category name would have come multiple times in that case. So the same number will keep coming up again and again. That's what the issue will be. Okay, that's what the issue will be. So that's why we have used count distinct so that it is only counted once. See, now we have this another file where we have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 tables with us. See, if I select all the 7 tables, and let me load them. Okay, so I'm loading all these 7 files. Now I just want to show you the second type of a schema, which is snowflake schema, where you will see that all the tables might not be connected to the master table. See, the first thing, what we'll have to do in this case is I'll have to go into the transform data. So, there are a lot of blank rows that we have in this data set. I'll have to clean that up. See, I can see from here that there are a lot of blank rows in this. So I will simply say remove blank rows. I'll go in the customer table and I will say remove blank rows because blank rows will create an issue. Everywhere I'm simply saying remove blank rows. So if I say remove blank rows, that's what we have done in this. And I'll say close and apply. Okay, so those tables are loaded. Let's go into the modeling view and let's see how the tables look like. See, we also have a zoom in window over here. So, I mean, you can zoom in, zoom out over here to bring all the charts in one view. See, this is how we have all the 7 tables. See, the main table over here is fact table. And this time what Power BI has done, it has only created one connection, that is customer ID to customer ID. Okay. Now this fact table will be connected with the currency table. See, I can see currency to currency key. If I drag currency key to currency key, see the 2 tables are connected like this. Okay. Likewise, because ultimately we will be selling the products. So you will see product key to product key. That's the relationship that we have. Product will belong to a subcategory. So you will see there's a product subcategory key. So now if you see product table and subcategory tables are connected, and subcategory will belong to some of the one of the categories. So you will see there's a product category key to product category key. Now subcategory and category table, if you take a look at it, everyone, they are not directly connected to the fact table. So this type of a schema is called as a snowflake schema. So what I can do now is every customer will belong to a geography. So you will see there's a geography key over here and geography key over here. So there it is. So that's how this model has been created. Now, definitely you can always have lot of such relationships and everything, right? So you can have enormous number of tables that you might get, and you will have to ensure that they are properly connected to each other. So that's how the things work basically. All right. So now if you want to create the charts and everything, they can be done as the same way. Since the connect tables are connected to each other, you will easily be able to do that up. So any questions, anyone till this point? Yep. So blank cells, we have deleted it, right? Because blank cells won't give us anything. So we have deleted that up. Now see what happened is if I go back to my previous case itself, right? The previous model that we created. So say similar is the data. So now what happened? You have another feature over here where what we can do is we can work with the grouping of the data and work with the hierarchies as well. See now, for example, so relationship is something which we talked about. So for example, if I make a table, right? I am making a bar chart. And I would like to bring subcategory and the sales. Okay. So you will notice a chart is created where we can see the sales by subcategory. Now, for example, when you make the charts, many a times, there are the requests that comes up. Like in this case, if you take a look, chairs and tables, they are coming as separate subcategories, right? Chairs and tables, they are coming as separate subcategories. I would like to combine the two values together so that I would like to showcase table and chair as one. I do not want to show them as two separate subcategories. I want to club them up. So that concept is called as grouping. So if you right click on subcategory, here you will see an option of new group. And over here, I would like to group tables, press Control key, select chairs, right? Select the two values which you want to group them and say group. Now what will happen is if I will use this particular field, so table and chair won't come as two separate bars. They will be combined together as one. So if I click on OK now, a new field is created, subcategory group. I will remove the subcategory and I will bring subcategory group inside it. See, now you will notice we have got chair and table as one individual bar, not as two separate bars in this. So this concept is called as grouping. So Jagdish, y-axis and x-axis are basically where you drag and drop the fields to build the chart, right? Like when you create a chart. So what happens is when we make any of the charts, this is called as x-axis. This is called as y-axis, right? So in this chart on the y-axis, I have the subcategory names and on the x-axis, I have the sales. So that's what we have dragged, x and y. Got it? So the way we create the charts over here, all the charts are something, different charts will have the different options where you drag and drop the fields. So if you come over here right now, say like, for example, if I make a pie chart, See, now in the pie chart, we do not have any X or Y axis. So if you select the pie chart, all right. So if I drag, for example, segment on the legend and sales in the values, so you will realize now we get the pie chart. So there is no, since there is no X or Y axis, so you do not get to see any X or Y axis in this chart. So different charts will have different options where we drop the fields. So this tool that I'm using is Epic Pen. Epic. Now see, when you make the groups, now it is not necessary that you can create only one group. So if you scroll down where the group field is there, if you right click and edit that up, edit the groups, you can make more than one group also. Like for example, if you realize you want to make a group to showcase accessories and phones. See, if you group it, now these two values will come together as one. Accessories and phones, tables and chairs. Okay. Now if I click on OK, the chart will change and those two values now will come together. See, accessories and phones, chairs and tables. So you can create multiple groups as well. Now that you can do it. See, renaming is something if you want that, like, for example, if you feel like that on the chart, this is not looking good. So what you can do is either you can rename the field, or better option is where you have dragged and dropped the field on the y-axis. Just click on that and say rename for the visual. If you simply call it as subcategory, that's it. So it will update over here. So that changes can be customized, whatever you would like to show on the chart. Okay. Now the next, very interesting feature that we have in the Power BI, which makes our life super easy is that is the hierarchies, right? Hierarchies. So by default, whenever you have any date field, these hierarchies are automatically defined. See, for example, if I make a line chart and let me drag order date on the x-axis, sales on the y-axis. So you will see there is a line chart that is created. And now when you drag the date fields over here in the chart, so Power BI automatically creates a date hierarchy, right? Like from the dates, you can extract the year, quarter, month, and day. So if you see right now, when I have made this chart up, you will notice we have got some options over here, right? If I click on this will drill down the chart. If I click on it once, the chart will go from year to quarter, click again, quarter to month, click again, month to day. And if you say drill up, the chart will start drilling up. Okay? And likewise, you have another option over here. See, if in the chart is the topmost level, if you use this option, in this case, what will happen if I click on this once, the chart will go to the quarter level. It is showing me the 4 quarters. Now this is like quarter 1 of all the 4 years, quarter 2 of all the 4 years, quarter 3 and quarter 4 of all the 4 years. That's how the numbers are being shown. Okay. So this is aggregating the data for all the 4 years. Like if I click on this again, the chart will go to the month level. Now it is like January of all the 4 years, February of all the 4 years, and likewise. So this chart is typically helpful in identifying the seasonality of the data. Right? If you want to see the seasonality, right, which are the months when the sales are at the peak, which are the months when the sales are low. So this chart can be really helpful in identifying that. All right. And likewise, you have one more option in this. So if you say click to turn on drill down. OK. So what will happen in this case is if I click on 2015, it will show me all the quarters of 2015. If I click on any of the quarters, it will show me the months of that quarter. And if I click on any month, it will show me the days of that month. So I can be very specific if I'm trying to find out a specific information like how the sales happened in a particular year, a particular quarter, a particular month. So those things can be easily drilled down over here in this. OK. And if I say drill up like this, the chart can be drilled up over here. Okay. Now, see this hierarchy option that we have, this is something which we can use for other data points as well. So if I ask you all, if you take a look on the data, just take 1 minute, have a look on it. Can you identify if there are any other hierarchies in this data? Like one is date, right? Date is one, like ship date will also be one of the hierarchy. But apart from that, any other hierarchies you identify? See, if you see, we have country, state, and city, right? That is also one of the hierarchies that we have, country, state, and city. So if I come over here, let me make a map. If I add a map over here and let me drag, that is in the region data. We have country. Okay. So below country, what I do is I'm going to bring the state over here. Right. And now if I drag the sales over here on the bubble size, the bubble size is something like bigger the bubble, higher the sales, smaller the bubble, lower the sales. But now on this map also, we have that hierarchy option. So if I click on drill down, the chart will go from country to state. And if suppose in the same chart, I bring city as well. Okay. So I will be able to drill it to the city level as well. So technically you can create any map that you want, right? Depending upon the data that you have in the file. So in this data set, we have only the data of US. So that's why you will see the US map being popped up for us. So that's how this hierarchy option is working. And when we are specifically talking about the map, I can go into the map settings and I can apply the different themes to it to enhance the look and feel of this map that we have created. Okay. So Abhishek, drill down is based on the order. So you have to be very careful that you drag and drop the fields in the correct order. Like after country, it should be state, and after state, it should be city. If you will drag it in the wrong order, the chart will get messed up. Okay, that sequence does matter over here. All right. See, once you have done all the work, right? So you can save this file. When you click on save, the file can be saved wherever you want. Okay. So that's like what we have, right? The topics for today, right? Data modeling, grouping, and hierarchies. So I would like to open the room for any Q&A questions you would like to discuss, all of you. So I would like to spend the last 5 minutes Q&A part, right? So if you see, we also have another hierarchy in this category, subcategory. So you can apply the hierarchy for any chart. Suppose, for example, if I create a bar chart as well, and I drag category, then subcategory, then I bring the product name. And if I bring the sales, see, you will be able to navigate the chart from category to subcategory, subcategory to product. So very easily, this provides a very convenient option to the end users to play around with the different hierarchies and see a specific data. So Srinath, basically like performance wise, if you see that is the star schema, right, which is preferred. But yes, because since Snowflake is more normalized, right? So it provides you a more normalized data. So in case you don't need a lot of analysis at a very high level, in that case, Snowflake is preferred. So it's not like which can be preferred, it's more about the use case. So that's what will matter. The use case is important, how you have the data. But yes, performance wise and simplicity wise, Snowflake is always preferred. Yep. So key difference with Tableau probably you will see a lot. So basically, like the one major difference is like, Tableau doesn't come with the data cleansing features, right? So for doing the data cleaning, you have to use a separate tool, maybe like Tableau Prep itself or some other ETL tool, right? And secondly, data modeling was also very recently introduced. But yes, performance wise, Tableau is better. If your data size is huge, so you will see that Tableau will perform faster on that. Whereas like cost wise, Power BI is cheaper. So, I mean, both the tools have their own pros and cons. Yep, Tableau Prep is the one. So that was also recently launched. I guess in 2020 it was launched so that they can compete with the Power BI. JSON files can be used. Yes. So JSON file and MongoDB data that can be loaded up in this. There you can bring it. And JSON is also mostly not, it's not unstructured, it's just the file type is different. Okay. So to connect the Power BI to different databases, you will see the option here. When you click on get data, you will see the list of all the data sources. So you can connect it to a SharePoint, SQL Server, MySQL, whatever is your database, you just have to choose that up and you should have your credentials and you will be able to connect to it. So if you want to store the hierarchy, then what happens is you can maintain it like this. So like for example, if you right click on country, right click on country, you will say this create a hierarchy. Okay. And after that, you will right click on state and you will say add it to country hierarchy. So now the hierarchy is saving country, then state, and then you can right click on city, add to hierarchy, country hierarchy. So that way, what has now happened is your hierarchy is kind of saved now. So what will now happen if I open a chart and I make a column chart? So if you want to drag all the three things, you can simply drag the country hierarchy itself. And if I drag the sales, see, no need of dragging one by one. So that's how you will be able to use it, right? Country, then state, then city, or if you want to make a map, so that can also. Okay. No, Vinay, so basically you have this Power BI desktop app only that we use. That's the application that we have. Okay. Yep, everyone. So I think we will be planning some more sessions as well in the future to pick up the different topics to keep educating you about the different concepts of Power BI. Right, everyone? It is free, so you can download the Power BI desktop for free of cost. If you will go on to that link, if you will Google it out, Power BI desktop, or if you go to the Microsoft Store, you will be able to download it for free. Power BI desktop is a free application. Okay. All right. So thanks everyone for participating. So hope you had a good time. Okay. So I'll share the files with the team so they will share it across with you. Thank you. Thanks everyone.